Friends, I want to talk to you today about essential tips for social media during the election season. Hi, everyone. I'm Roshanda Pratt. You may know me in the digital streets as The Rose Show Live. I'm a communication strategist and content producer, empowering you to be seen, heard, and paid because your visibility is power. It's so important for us to have this conversation because I don't want you to blow your visibility, your brand reputation, or your business, or even lose your job because of what you're posting on social media during what is a hot political season. I'm a former television news producer. I've worked in television news for 2 decades. I am very passionate about media communications. And so the things that I'm going to be sharing with you are much of the strategies, the insights, and wisdom that I have from 20 years of working behind the scenes as a television news producer, working with talent, working with reporters, covering very high profile stories that you can think of in the last 20 years. Anything from a tsunami, hurricane, political scandals, uh, I always like to say the petty tax, whatever you can think of, I've covered those things, including elections. There's a lot of elections that I've covered. Now, I've covered those things, both being a television news producer, but also working in the digital space. In fact, my last job, which was a local CBS affiliate, I started working on the digital side. So I was on the digital team, and then I started working as an executive morning show producer. So again, I'm just giving you my credentials so you understand this is not just something that I pulled out pie out the sky. I am speaking from my experience. I'm speaking from my journey. And I'm also speaking from a person who's been in this digital space and has experienced trolls and also has been in this digital space and said something that I probably shouldn't have said that can be taken the wrong way. So we're going to address all those things. So I'm going to give you some tools, but I'm also going to give you some practical examples. Now, here's what I'm seeing here in the digital space. I'm seeing a lot of you, whether you're Democrat, Republican, Independent, that's not what this is about. What this is about are people who are sharing their opinions. And opinions are like belly buttons, right? Everybody has one, but doesn't necessarily know what to do with that belly button, right? Everybody sees that they have an opinion, but they really don't know what necessarily to do with that. So, with that being said, I want to talk about, first and foremost, before we get into the tips, this thought around, I think everybody should have, how do I want to say this? Everybody should have a communications plan because all of us are on social, all of us are in this digital space, and all of us are given this tool that we can share our opinions, whether it's about the women's NBA, politics, religion, the fact that you don't like the new nuggets at a certain restaurant, whatever it is, all of us are given the space to share our opinions. But what we have to understand is that when we share these opinions, when we share these things, right? It's also up for other people to share their opinions about what you said. How am I going to engage on social? Am I going to delete negative comments? Am I going to respond to those who give negative comments? How far am I going to go with going back and forth with someone who doesn't like my opinion, right? Am I even going to talk about my opinion or my beliefs on social media? You have to understand that going in because I believe when you already outline what that is your type of boundary. So for me, one of the things I don't do is I don't go back and forth with trolls. I don't go back and forth with people who are not already a part of my community or who don't really know me. I'm not going back and forth with that. Those of you who are here, a part of my community, many of you have been riding with me since the Periscope days. You can call me out on my behavior. You can say, hey, Ro, that I don't understand why you did that, right? Because you've been a part of the community. I am not going to try to prove myself to someone who's already made up their mind about me. I'm not going to try to prove myself to someone who's already made up their mind after just watching a 15-second video of me. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to get caught up in that. That's one of my boundaries. That's how I keep my peace. That's how I make sure that I'm not spiraling out of control and spending all of my day going back and forth with someone who's already made up their mind, already made up the decision about what they believe and what they feel about what you're doing. Another one of my safeguards is there are people who are part of my outside community, like my husband, my business besties, right? Who can call me out and say, if I'm thinking about addressing a hot topic, I run it through them. I run it through a filter. Many of you are posting things on social media and not even running it through a filter, not even thinking about, if I post this is the message I want or I intend to say, but is it going to come across by using these words? Running it through a filter. Taking time just to say, as you're typing something, before you hit post, reading it back to yourself and saying, Roshanda, are you adding value to the conversation or are you adding more noise? That's a word right there. Am I adding value to this conversation, or am I adding more noise to the conversation? There's enough noise in these digital streets, but how am I adding substance, value, or instead of just adding to the noise? Recently, I received an email from Sticker Mule. Maybe some of you have received this as well. It's a sticker, t-shirt, Cersei company, right? And most recently, the COO, I believe, of the company wrote an email talking about the fact that he is a Trump supporter, talking about the fact that he feels like the political climate doesn't allow him to speak out openly about being a Trump supporter. And then he talked about his company having various political views. There are people who are Trump supporters. There are people who are Biden supporters, all of those things. And that he just thinks the political climate is really violent. And then went on to encourage us to buy a Trump shirt. I think as a CEO and founder, he missed the mark. I have no problem with him sharing his political views about who he supports. I think that email could have been not just adding to the noise. I think there was an opportunity for him to bridge the gap and bridge the conversation and talk about the fact that you have people on different sides of the coin. You have people who believe one way and this way, even inside of our company, and how we have those conversations and dialogue. I believe he could have moved the conversation forward. What happened was he invited people to discuss this with him on X, formerly known as Twitter. And what happened was people leaving Sticker Mule, people saying they didn't want his opinion, you're a sticker company, etc. That's a risk you take when you decide to show up in your content, letting people know whatever your political, your religious views, whatever those things are. You may have people who are drawn to that, or you may have people who are totally repelled by that. But you have to decide very early on if that's a risk that you're willing to take. Listen, my friend Jessica's here from LinkedIn. Good to see you. She said, yes, Roshanda, having boundaries and wise advisors are great safeguards in the digital age. Thanks for adding value to our conversations. Jessica, thank you so much for joining and watching in from LinkedIn. This is so key and so important. Many of you are just not using that filter. For some of you, I know you typed that thing and you're like, I'm going to post it, and you felt a check. You felt a check. Call it your gut intuition, call it being led by the spirit, but you felt a check that said, you know what? You don't need to post this. And we need to follow our peace. We don't need to be disrupting our peace, but we need to follow our peace. So let's get into this. Let's get into some best practices. Let's get into some things that I want you to consider and I want you to think about as you are navigating these digital streets in the political age, because this is the thing you have to understand. Dr. Will, good to see you, friend. This is the thing you have to understand. This is not getting better. This is not getting better. We are on the cusp of making history. We are on the cusp, especially I'm speaking to those who are here in America. And so this is not going to get any better. And so you have to understand how to navigate this. And I'm coming to you because many of you are about to lose your brand endorsements. You are about to lose business. And some of you are about to lose your job because you are so hot headed. You are so dogmatic in your approach that you are not taking a time to, as we learned on a different world, relax, relate, release. How many of y'all remember that? Give me some hearts if you remember that. Relax, relate, release. You're not taking a time to do that. You are just posting. Or tip number one, you don't think your post is public because you have a private page or you're in a private Facebook group. You do understand that everything you post is public, ladies and gentlemen, even if you have a private page, even if it's just your family, even if it's just your three and no more, everything you post on social media is public. Well, Roshanda, how can you say that? I have privacy settings. You do, but you have a timeline of people who can take a screenshot, and a screenshot lasts forever. How many people have lost their jobs? How many sports athletes have lost brand endorsements because someone went back into their tweet decades ago and took a screenshot? How many people have thought they were in a safe private text group and someone took a screenshot of what they shared and posted it on social media? You have to understand that everything that you post is public. Someone put that in the chat. Everything I post is public. It is. Screenshots are forever. If you are in a public Facebook group, people can see your post. I saw something that someone posted today and I said, oh, sweet baby Jesus. They thought that that was only seen by the people in this community. I saw it. Could have took a screenshot of it. There are people who are posting comments on people's profile and thinking no one can. This is the World Wide Web, ladies and gentlemen. As journalists, you're thinking that it's hidden, that no one can see it. But as journalists, we have software, we have tools where we can bypass what you think is public or, private, and go and see it and find out about it. It's public. And you're sitting here vilifying women. I'm telling you what I saw just in the last 24 hours, calling women out of their names because of who they choose to support, calling people idiotic. I saw a post where a person said, I have no problem. There was some banter going on, of course, it's election season, going on between, about who President Trump is, talking about him being a felon. Someone accused him of being a pedophile, all of these things, okay? And I'm just letting you know, this person commented and respond, yeah, I'd rather support a pedophile. I get what they were saying, but I could take a screenshot. And if you work with children, you're about to lose your job. You're about to mess up your brand, your reputation because of what you're posting. Take a minute, take a deep breath, go for a walk. Think about what you're posting before you post it. When we sit here and say, oh, when I talk to teens about posting on social media and they say things like this, well, Miss Pratt, it disappears after 24 hours. Where does it go? You think that just evaporates in the sky? You don't think it's somewhere in the cloud somewhere? Where does it go? You posted this on the internet and then it just evaporates and disappears in 24 hours. There's always a way to find it. And again, if you posted it, someone took a screenshot of it really quick before you had a chance to delete it, it is out there. I saw this happen when my friend Capricia went home to be with the Lord. Someone broke the news on social media before we wanted them to do that. I had not shared my post yet. We were still contacting family members. And guess what? That one post, someone was able to take a screenshot, and it was circulated all throughout social media. That within 24 hours, our friend group told me, hey, Roshanda, you're going to have to address this today because it's already on social media and people are already speculating. One post that was up, not even an hour, not even 30 minutes, people already took a screenshot. In this climate of social media, the other thing that I need you all to do is I need you to fact check before you share. Fact check before you share. Verify the information before you share. One of the things that we teach our clients all the time is that social media is your opportunity to build your own media warehouse. Many of you are sharing content, much of like what I've done years working as a television news producer. And so you need to verify the information that you share because the people who follow you trust you. Did you realize that? That the people who follow you, Rhonda and Dr. Will and Jessica and everybody who's watching this live and watching in the replay, they trust you. So, for example, again, within the last 48 hours, I saw a post circulating accusing Starbucks of supporting the Heritage Foundation and the RNC. Well, when you go and fact check it against several news sources, that was not the case. Starbucks was providing drinks to volunteers, both at the RNC, and actually, it's not just volunteers, it was also first responders. First responders, these are medical, fire, police who don't have an affiliation, who are there to protect citizens. Starbucks was providing drinks to both first responders at the DNC and the RNC. But that post about Starbucks being a major supporter of the Heritage Foundation and Project 2025 went all over the internet, and people were like, I'm not drinking Starbucks anymore. Where you just need to take a moment and say, pull back, Roshanda, pull back. Let me do a Google search and verify this. You ready with this? How you verify something? With 3 news sources. 3 credible news sources. Many of you know that I'm a former TV news producer. I've had people who've inboxed me and said, Roshanda, I see this circulating on social media. Is this accurate? Is this something I can share? Can you tell me what's going on? I'm honored that many of you do that. And then guess what I do? I go verify it with 3 sources. 3. Out the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, let everything be established. 3 credible news sources. Not your cousin who has a blog. News sources. Snoops.com, I think it is a great news source to verify urban myths and legends and just scams. Just typing it in and just saying, is this true? And this has become such a problem in the digital space, ladies and gentlemen, that news organizations like Tegna, and I can call out Tegna because I used to work for a Tegna station, they now have a section or segment in their news called Verify, where they're verifying many of these things that people are circulating on social media like it's the gospel. And here's the thing. If you posted that, it's not enough just to delete it, because someone has gotten that information into their mind. It's not that they're not just circulating it on social. Now they're going to tell people at their job. They're going to tell their employees. It's not enough for you just to delete the post. You need to put out another post and say, you all, I shared information about X, Y, and Z. I have later discovered that this is not true, that this is inaccurate. Here is the actual news story to verify that this information is not true. That's it. That's what we need to do. That's taking responsibility. That's making sure that we keep our internet streets safe. See how this goes beyond you just posting and saying, oh, I made a mistake and I'm going to delete it. No, this is about taking responsibility for your timeline and the people who look at you as a trusted source. It's admitting when you've done something wrong and then giving people the right tools and information so that way they don't go and continue to repeat your mistake to their audience. This is how we get rid of fake news. This is how we get rid of scams and false information. It's not enough just to delete it. Teach people what is correct. Next thing, engaging in heated debates on social media. What's the point? What's the point? You believe what you believe, the other person believes what they believe. I'll never forget the first time I encountered this. I was working in television. I was working on the digital side at the time before I moved over to executive morning show producer. And as I was working on the digital side, I ride hard for my station. Whatever station I work for, I'm team whatever. And that includes our talent, that includes our staff. I am not going to allow you to bully people. And in this particular time, there was a person online who was bullying one of our staff members, uh, shaming them, calling them names, talking about their weight, and I just wasn't going to have it. And one of the things is we were sparring back and forth, and I made the mistake of saying to them, "You don't know who I am." Now, here's the thing. I'm going to talk about colloquialisms and culture for a second. If you are a part of the black and brown community, we know that when someone says, "Oh, you don't know who I am," that's not necessarily a threat. That's not necessarily you saying, "Oh, I'm going to call, I'm going to do something to you." That usually is just a culture thing, right? "Oh, you forgot who I was." You get what I'm saying? Those who are part of the community, if you know, you know, right? But what I realize is when I post something like that on social, that comes across as a threat. When you post, "Oh, you don't know who I am." "Oh, you must not, oh, you don't know who you're talking to." What does that mean? Because remember, it's tone. We don't have that. I don't understand your culturalisms. I don't understand all of those things. So it comes off as a threat. And on top of that, coming off as a threat, it also comes off, right, as you're trying to push this in another direction. And so I had to take multiple screenshots. I talked to our general manager at the time about what was going on. And what I learned at that time about engaging in heated debates on social media is this: if you have a brand, if you're a speaker, a CEO, a founder, you have more to lose than the person that you're engaging with. I want you to think about that. You have more to lose than the person who is a keyboard warrior or keyboard courageous on the other side. You have more to lose. Your job, your brand, you have more to lose than them. 9 times out of 10, these are spam accounts. These are people who, do you know that people look for this time of year to engage and be combative, right? A lot of these times, these are people who spend days and nights staying up to rile up people and to push false narratives, especially around this time of year. And so you are engaging with someone who has nothing to lose, but you have more to lose than them. And when I keep that at top of mind, when I go to respond to some people, I end up backspacing, delete, delete, delete. When I think about that, I end up saying to myself, "You know what? It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Is it? Is it worth it?" At the same time, we also have to give grace that if I'm sharing my opinion, that's my opinion on my page. I don't get the right to show up on your page and say, "You are wrong for sharing this opinion." It's your opinion, it's free speech. I can say I don't agree with it, but for me to sit here and try to engage in a social post to get you to change your mind, my friend, is absolutely ridiculous. And it's a waste of time. Pick this person, call them on the phone if you have that kind of relationship with them. But to try to go back and forth on a public forum that invites other people to exchange dialogue, it's not worth it. And it doesn't end well. Right now, there's a gentleman who has made some disparaging images and comments on a colleague's social platform, social page right now. And we're contacting Facebook to get them banned. We're reporting them. Yeah, because you don't get to cloud this space with this kind of nonsense. It's inappropriate. And so, again, understanding that trying to engage in a heated debate and discussion just may not end well, right? Keep it above, right? And really ask yourself, is it really worth it? I believe what I believe, they believe what they believe. We don't even have, deep relationship like that we could have a dialogue outside of social media. So at this point, what does the old adage go? Agree to disagree. Agree to disagree. The other thing I want to share with you is understanding the significance and regularly updating your settings. In this season, you may say to yourself, there are just certain content I don't want to see. And you can go into your social media settings and just, block certain keywords, certain things you don't want to see. You can even take a break for some people. There's some people, you guys, that just flare you up, that just get you just like, oh, every time they post. You may need to take a snooze. You may not need to unfriend them. If they're robbing your mental space, you may need to unfriend them, but you may just need to snooze them for 30 days. You may just say, you know what? I don't want to see their content, and you want to hide their content. Maybe you are very vocal about what you feel and you think, and maybe you don't want to engage with certain family members. You can block certain family members that they can't see your content and they can't engage with you. So, yes, maybe you need to take a 30-day social media break to recalibrate, right? I know some people, especially when it's in election season, they decide that they're going to take a break the 60 days leading up to the election because they just don't like what's on social media. What I'm saying to you is protect your mental space. If this person, you don't like their content and it just gets under your skin, snooze them or just block them or unfriend them for a season. If you're watching somebody and every time you see them, jealousy and envy arises, unfriend them until you can get yourself together. There's nothing wrong with that. There are some people that I have snoozed because I'm just like, every time I see that content, help me, baby Jesus, right? Because I just don't want that to get into my mental and I don't want that to get into my soul. So I just snooze them. When I see people post something that I totally disagree with, I have to remind myself that, you know what? That's the great thing about democracy and freedom of speech. We get an opportunity to share our thoughts and our opinions, and I have to be okay with that because that's what they believe. They probably don't like what I believe, right? You have to understand that it's important what you're sharing because, again, I talked to you about screenshots, understanding that you may be putting yourself in a legal bind and sharing false or defamatory content could land you in jail. We don't talk about that you could be breaking the law in what you're saying about a person and how you're addressing them. Many of you are saying these things, and I'm saying, going like, oh my gosh, what is going on? People are unhinged. Don't let this time mess up everything that you spent weeks, months, and years building. Please, sir. Please, ma'am. This is not the time for you. And some people will say, well, Roshanda, I'm glad we know who they are and I know who I'm dealing with. True. There's some truth to that. But also, it's painful to see. That's the beauty about being an American. That's the beauty about being in the world, that we can have different opinions and it be okay. And we don't have to lose our mind and just go bonkers. I am amazed at the things I'm seeing people say to each other. That I'm just like, you would never say that to someone face to face. See, there's another safeguard. If I wouldn't say this to someone face to face, why would I say it to them here on social media? If I wouldn't say this in front of my children, why would I say it now on social media? Why? You probably don't need to. My friend Shakima Chapman said this, and I thought it was so great. In a post I said this morning, she wrote this today on her social media platform, and I'm going to say it to you today. Maybe you need to make this a bumper sticker. Maybe you need to make this a post-it note to remind yourself as you continue to engage in these digital streets. She said this: don't tussle on social media. Deliver your punch at the polls. Don't tussle on social media. Whatever side you are, whatever you believe, don't tussle on social media. Deliver your punch at the polls. Go make it count. Sometimes I'm seeing people do all of this talking and you're not involved in any kind of community engagement. You're not doing anything to make your community or world better. It's just a lot of talk. You know what? Stop all the talk and go take the walk. Go into the polls where it makes a difference. Go vote. Go join a local organization since you're so passionate about X, Y, and Z. Go do the work. Go write a check for what you believe in. Go do the work. Shakima Chapman, I love this. Don't tussle on social media. Deliver your punch at the polls. Friends, we still have many more months together. We really do. Many more months together. And I want to encourage you to take some of the things that I've shared with you today and share it with your audience. Put it in your communities. Share it far and wide with other people. Listen, share it with your clients just as a reminder. Those who are speakers, CEOs, founders, share it with your community and remind them, watch this video and think about how you're showing up in the digital space. That what you're saying today, do you want this showing up 2 years from now, 10 years from now, 5 days from now? Do you want what you're posting today to show up when you are making some major moves in your career, in your life, and in your business? Think about that. I am Roshanda Pratt, known online as The Ro Show Live, communication strategist and content producer, empowering you to build a brand around your thought leadership so you can be seen, heard, and paid. In the description of this video, I have a link to join our weekly newsletter where I share more communications insight just like this. So that way you can build a reputable, profitable brand. Yeah. So you can be seen, heard, and paid with the right message. And not just something that you said in the heat of the moment or as you're trying to engage with someone. You guys have been an amazing audience. Thank you so much for engaging. Thank you to my LinkedIn and Facebook friends for being here. You guys are so amazing. Make sure you share this out and tag someone who can benefit from this content. You guys are amazing. Be blessed. I'll talk to you soon. Rooting for you.